right, great. So we're here on another Wednesday. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. And this week we're talking about podcasts. Podcasts are great. You might know that there is a Page of Sale podcast. There aren't so many episodes. I usually try to make one um, every now and then. There's no schedule for it right now, as I'm working on getting the trivia together and everything situated, and then figuring out who I need to hire, and then who might be in charge of podcasts. And then the podcast could already be stylized, and the person could just kind of come into the role. But what I really love about these podcasts is that they really work very well, both visually and acoustically, right? So most podcasts, it's more about something that you can just listen to. Of course, you can add video to it to enhance it, but a podcast should be just as effective if it's just silent. But these podcasts that I make don't ever show anyone's face. They just kind of do little bursts of images and GIFs and things like that. And I think it works really well for the language and culture aspect of everything. I got started a little bit earlier today, but we can jump in and check out a podcast. And then I'll get into the book for today, which has to do with educational podcasts. And I think some education can come from the podcasts here, but I wouldn't say that they're strictly educational. I think that they're more so I think they're kind of satirical, not because I want them to be. I just think the way that I am is just kind of funny. So I think even when I watch them myself, they're just funny. But I'm not trying to be funny when I record them. So let's check out and look at the podcasts here. I need to share my screen. I'm not sure if it'll be audible. It probably won't be audible. I know if I share my screen, it probably shares the sound too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are times when I try to be funny, but most of the time it's just because when people find certain things funny, so I just try to do more of that. So here's the screen. And I really like the way this turned out. Initially, I just uploaded a Instagram live where I had the camera turned off, and this is the background that it gives, and it offers a great backdrop. And then this is the intro that I have, the visual intro, and I talk about the cover of a book. It's really simple, it's really easy, and I think it's a great concept to invite people on to talk about the cover of a book, right? And where someone could go inspired by the cover of a book. So, this is the podcast. They're usually about 9 minutes long. As you jump through, there are different illustrations and things like that. I'm waiting on an illustration. I can speed it up since we're not listening to it. This is the first one. I like it, but the next podcasts are a little bit better, actually. There was a little image, of course, as soon as I clicked to go to the next one. But either way, you go through, you listen to me talk, the same thing that I do here, but this one is in a short podcast style, a little bit more to the point. And then at the end, it'll send you to bookpagesdale.com. I'm doing my best to regain access to some things that I lost access to. And that includes bookpagesale.com. So I keep advertising the same stuff, but it'll probably serve as a pretty good experiment to see which get more attention, right? Which posts get more attention. I don't know if I can really do good analytics with that on Instagram or not. But either way, that's the podcast. I really like enjoying the podcast. You could say that what I do here is a podcast. I don't really consider this to be a podcast because it requires looking at the screen for the most part. I do the best that I can to not give a feeling of missing out when I do those podcasts, right? It doesn't seem like you should be able to look at something that you can't look at. I'm talking about it. But yeah, here I make reference in a way that seems like, hey, you should probably really be able to see this. And that's the difference that I have between the two, in addition to the length. And I might get a little bit better at the differences there. But I really like the idea of traveling and having people on a podcast. We just talk about a book for 10 minutes. Or, yeah, talk about a book for 10 minutes. Hey, do you want to be on the podcast? You want to be on the podcast? Want to step out of the library, be on a podcast? You know? And then this one, it's kind of like, okay, it's just me. I'm just going to sit here and blab on. And anyone who wants to hear a little bit about teaching, or maybe this one is where people are invited on, and then the other one is just kind of spontaneous. I don't know. So, how to create podcasts for education? All right. I am curious what they'll say in a way that's different of what you might do with your average podcast. How to create podcasts for education. What? This is a table of contents? That's funny. Podcasting technology, how to create podcasts, practitioner's guide, and then the glossary. That's funny. I'd really like to start with the glossary, actually, if I may. Page 50. We have advanced audio coding, audio podcast containing sound only. Well, then, what makes a podcast a podcast? enhanced podcast, an extended version of audio podcast capable of displaying additional information such as still images, web links, and chapter markers. Okay. Geographic information system, Apple Design portable media player, podcast, a digital media file available via a website. I don't know about that. A digital media file available via a website. Okay. Um, hmm. The glossary is always right? Okay, so podcast and copyright. I might need to be looking at this myself. That's right on point there. Yeah, that's another thing about why the other podcast is better than this one, because I am infringing on infringement. I don't think it's quite so much because I'm only sharing part of the book, and the book is given a totally new purpose through what I'm doing, especially if I do get to the point of actually taking a quiz and making an itinerary with what's read. But this is very cool. There are so many images, and I love that. This is a true technical writer written document, I think. This looks like a technical writer wrote it. I want to be a technical writer. You know, I have degrees for technical writing. A technical writer is a professional communicator who translates complex technical information into clear, user-friendly documentation to help people understand and use products or processes. Yeah, that's exactly what this person is doing. This person is very much a technical writer. Who's the author of this book? Are you? I can't help it. I like nonfiction a gazillion times more than I like fiction. I just think it's more fun. I'm trying to explore more fiction. It's funny because I like writing fiction, but I like reading nonfiction. So I have to push myself to write nonfiction and push myself to read fiction. But I mean, they're a lot the same. I think one reason why I don't like dealing with one or the other is because when you really get when you really get into it, you realize that they're truly the same. The only difference between the two is the formatting and maybe the scope. Because if you think about fiction, a lot of times it's just a lot more closer to a certain phenomenon or event or time or experience. And then nonfiction is just more generic, right? But they both share the same types of, you know, sharing of information, even with quotes, right? You think, oh man, but references and bibliographies and things like that. And yes, bibliographies, but that's still a type of formatting more so than the type of information that's being shared. And I just wish formatting was given a lot more respect, you know? That's why I like Pages Dale, because coming up this next week, I'll be focusing on formatting a short story that I wrote. I write short stories. You can check them out on Saturdays on Instagram. But either way, who's the author here? The author here is mm, I don't see a main contributor as far as being the author. We just have the publisher. Is this real? Hold on, let me look at the cover. Oh yeah, the cover did have a bunch of people for the authors. Hold on. Let's see who they all are. We have. Am I not remembering this correctly? Here they are. Gilly Salmon, Palitha Adir Singha, Matthew Mobbs, Richard Mobbs, and Chris Dennett. Interesting names, but who am I to judge, right? So we got Gilly Salmon, right? Gilly. All right, Gilly, what's going on? Pedagogical transformation, online teaching, technology enhanced learning, the 5-stage model, and etivities. Oh man. Yeah, that sounds fun. I wonder if the name is a pseudonym, but either way, again, nonfiction, fiction tend to be mixing. So, all right, previously, Salmon was academic director for Open Education Services in the UK, previously professor of innovation and transformation, and associate dean online at the University of Liverpool Management School. Pro Vice Chancellor at the University of Western Australia, Pro Vice Chancellor Learning Transformations at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne, Australia, Executive Director and Professor Learning Futures at the Australian Digital Futures Institute, University of Southern Queensland, Australia. She was previously Professor of E-Learning and E-Technologies and Head of the Beyond Distance Research Alliance at the Media Zoo at the University of Leicester. Leicester in the UK. And before that, with the UK Open University Business School, same in 2013. She was a founding director of all things in moderation. I'm really interested about this term, pedagogical transformation. It is a fundamental, often large-scale shift in teaching and learning approaches that moves away from traditional teacher-centered models to learner-centered, active, and socially relevant. Okay, all right, pedagogical transformation. This is God. This can't um again. It's disappointing because oh man. Everything is in terms of recent times and it's just not helpful, you know? I mean, transformational. It's a little misleading. It's a little short sighted, you know, but I still like it. I could use it, you know. I would say if someone were to look at Pagesdale as an alternative for going to school, which I don't necessarily recommend, but I think learning is always best if thought of as flexible, right? Um, and trans or pedagogical transformation seems to be giving learners more flexibility, right? It's not saying there won't be a teacher, it just won't be as teacher focused. Okay. And I guess pedagogy does usually depend on the teacher's decision making. So, you know, that would be pretty transformational for pedagogy. I get it. I think I understand better now. Let's make a travel itinerary. So, looking at the cover of it, how to create podcasts for education. Exciting. Didn't look like Gilly is a technical writer, but maybe the other authors are. I'm not going to look into it. Sunrise. I got to do something during the sunrise, listen to a podcast during the sunrise. I don't know. Let's see if there are any sunrise podcasts. Wow. Sunrise podcast, a podcast for Jesus. Welcome to the day with Sunrise Sunrise podcast. We will talk about anything under the sun that will make your heart light, glad, and joyful. Wake Up New York, a Sunrise NYC podcast, a new podcast from Sunrise NYC. Join us on this journey as learn more about how we can make it happen in our city and realize our dreams for a green new future together. Sunrise hike while listening to a podcast. I mean, and then talk about whatever podcast you chose to listen to after the hike. Do sunrise hikes. We already put a sunrise boat ride. We could do a sunrise. What else could you do? A sunrise drive. A lot of people do listen to podcasts while they drive, I guess. More so, I just listen to podcasts while you're doing anything. A podcast drive. Sunrise drive. I don't think I've put a sunrise drive on any itineraries. Let's see if we can find a tourist attraction that describes itself as a sunrise drive. Ooh. Watch the sunrise from the highest peak of the Northeast with two options. Let us do the driving with a guided tour or drive yourself. Mount Washington Auto Road. Sunrise on Mount Washington. We just read that. An unforgettable experience. Just $89. Watch the sunrise from the highest peak in the Northeast with two options. Again, I just read this. So leave the driving to us in one of our 8-passenger vans. Experience the sunrise on Mount Washington. From the comfort of a Mount Washington stagecoach. Our experienced tour guides will drive you up the Mount Washington Auto Road for a chance to watch the sunrise. We leave promptly from the base lodge and will not hold back the trip as we need to keep a tight schedule. So make sure you have enough time at the summit rest experience. Our drivers know the prime spots to view have access to safe VIP parking where other cars would not be able to park. They will tell their tales on the ascent and descent. Even if we don't actually get to. Oh, is this funny? Even if we don't actually get to see the sunrise. That's right. You can be sure the lighting on the mountains will make for incredible and unforgettable scenes. Although you're riding in a heated van, you should dress warmly. You're gonna get out. And to experience the weather on Mount Washington, weather info can be found here, and you're always welcome to call for the latest conditions. The tour may 2 hours depending on weather and where it was. Okay. Why is that so funny? I don't know why. Oh man. drive yourself at sunrise. I'm sorry. The auto road will open early so that you can drive yourself to the summit to experience sunrise at the summit of Mount Washington. Weather permitting, as always, be sure to check the road status for the most up to date operating information. Okay, the highest peak in the Northeast. Okay. All right, so we're going to put this on the itinerary. It's going to be Mount Washington Auto Road. Oh yeah, that reminds me of my other podcast. I have another podcast that's called Auto by Ashley. It's great. What I like about this podcast is that it has a regular structure and topic, and I really like my outro. Okay. I say something like, that's it for this segment, this installment, this episode. And I don't know, something like take care. In my mind, I have it mixed up with what I say for Pages the Headline, which is like, until next reach out, keep it loud. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's catchy-ish. Until next reach out, keep it loud. I don't know, what does it mean? I don't know. I'm figuring out what that means. But this podcast is not bad. It's not bad at all. So what I might do for this itinerary, excuse me, is I might just say, hey, go for a ride at sunrise. And if you don't have any other podcasts to listen to the Auto by Ashley podcast. I think that's good. I think the reason why I think this was so funny is just because it's a really unique place to go, but it just sounds kind of funny to drive for a sunrise. But maybe the peak is actually kind of like an arduous hike, right, to get to. So very convenient, go for a drive, experience the peak, and very cool. So that's what I'll do today. Mount Washington Auto Road, listen to Auto by Ashley podcast. Yep. That sounds good. And a lot of the podcasts that I talk about, the general theme of the podcast is just taking anything that you go through and making it into a positive. Basically, you are the author, you are the interpreter, you are the narrator of your own life. And for that reason, there's no need to ignore the spiny bits, I guess. Yeah. Just figure out how to make the most of it. Oops. I just talk about a bunch of random stuff too that happened. I'm actually supposed to be finishing the podcast. According to the introduction that I did, it's not complete. but I don't have access to it anymore. I first distributed it with a site or program or app called Anchor, and it posted it on Spotify, Apple, and every podcast platform. But I don't think that's available anymore. And I no longer have access to Anchor. I don't think it's a thing anymore. I think it got acquired by somebody or something. And they probably acquired the rights to my podcast at the same time, unfortunately. But here we are. Let's see. Make a copy. Podcasts. Hopefully this won't take too long, and then I can just go and call it a day. Call it a Wednesday. That's just, that was funny. That was one of those things where I do just talk like that. Um, but I decided to do that purposely just for the sake of being funny. Now I know not to speak like that because it's weird. But I still think inflection with one speech is the way to go. Yeah. So speaking of that, should that be part of the itinerary? Is it just about listening? Um, should you try to record your own podcast? I don't think so. I think it's more about taking something from the theme of the podcast. Auto by Ashley. Ooh. Because you can choose between being a passenger or being the one behind the wheel. That's really good. I have to figure out how to word it right, word it correctly, but that's a nice analogy for this. So the title of the book again is How to Create Podcasts for Education. And the location here is where's the location? Mount Washington. Mount Washington Auto Road. Mount Washington Auto Road Tour. Mount Washington Auto Road. Self/guided. Self or guided tour. And this is in Gorham, New Hampshire. it's necessary to be available to listen to what they have to say. Mm. Okay, let's do that. So we won't choose to take the sunrise tour as a passenger. Choose to take the self-guided sunrise tour. If you choose the self-guided sunrise tour and listen to the Autobiography podcast as you ascend. Critique the podcast based on descriptions in the book. Using descriptions, using information from the book. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Good. Now it's time for a quiz. I like this. I'm on the Auto Road self-guided tour. Read all or part of the book. Listen to the Autobiography podcast as you drive. Critique the podcast as you drive up the mountain, as you drive to the, what is it? As you drive atop the highest peak, as you drive across the peak, as you explore the peak, as you drive on the mountaintop. Yeah, great, cool. So now we're going to find a quiz about podcasts. International Podcast Day. Is that this month? September 30th. Yeah. Cool. All right. So, by the way, International Podcast Day is at the end of the month. Yeah. So, this is pretty good timing, I guess. Because this is the last topic for this month, right? Yeah. All right. Let's test our knowledge regarding podcasts. In 2005, Apple introduced podcasts into which version of iTunes? Ooh. All right, 2005. All right, come on, let's work it out. Now, I had an iPod. I definitely had an iPod. 2009, 2006. That helps me with 0. Which version of iTunes? It's gotta be 5.0. I don't think they do 4.89 stuff. What? What is an ID3 tag? A medical information bracelet, a metadata container used to store information about an MP3, or a metal necklace military members wear? I mean, we're talking about podcasts. I'm guessing it's got to be B. I hope I'm sharing my screen still. Am I sharing my screen properly? Yes. I hope this is being shared the way it should be. But all right, who is the author of the RSS format? I read about this. Oh, I think his name's Douglas. Oh, I think his name is Douglas. Is it Douglas? No, it's Dave. I'm sorry. I saw that somewhere. RSS. I don't know why. Pod safe music means contains no foul language. Any work which through its licensing allows its usage. Audio which contains no malware. Oh, it's gotta be this one. It's gotta be any work which through its licensing allows its usage. No, 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 no. I don't know. pod safe? Is it no foul language? Y'all are getting me with this one because it's actually pretty technical. So I don't know if this is, I don't know if it's technical or if it's like societal. Don't change your answer. Which company invented the MP3 technology? Come on now. It can't be Apple or Google. The MP3. Oh, it might have been Apple. I don't know. What company invented the MP3 technology? I think it's not Apple. I think they just used it. Okay. What was the first ever podcast? A series of interviews on blogging and politics, a daily podcast about life and programming, a serialized story told one episode at a time. I think this is an unfair question. A series of interviews on blogging and politics. I think this is the one. But it might be this. I'm just getting this vibe from this quiz today. A daily podcast about life and programming. I'm getting vibes from this. Man, this quiz is beating my butt. The term podcasting was first mentioned by who? This was a trivia question. That we have totally been. This is, there's no hard feelings quiz. It is all good. It's always been all good. But wow. In what year did the first portable MP3 players appear? In what year did the first portable MP3 players appear? You are really giving me 98, 99, and 2000? I like whoever made this quiz. In what year did the first portable MP3 player appear? It's not 2000. It's gotta be 98. The first portable MP3 player. I don't think it's 2000. It's too, you know, I'm going for 98. Man. Who was the first US president of podcast? Oh, come on. If it was 99. It could not have been Bush. And it definitely wasn't. I don't remember who was first. Was it Bush or Clinton? That's not good. It was definitely Clinton after Bush. Excuse me. Sorry. It must have been Clinton. Come on now. Who? No. Really? Wait, what? Hold on. Wait a second. Who was first? Was it Bush or Clinton? It was Bush. Well, oh, hold on. There are multiple Bushes. This gets me every time. Okay. This is a really good quiz. I like this quiz so much that I think what I'm going to start doing now is sharing quizzes in the post with the takeaways, or on the last trivia day. Should I share this tomorrow? The trivia post. Should I, from here on out, just share? Um, There are only 9 questions. And the countdown says 5 days, 7 hours, and 4 minutes until International Podcast Day. This is rough. I'm pretty sure I only got like 2 of these questions right. Three out of 9. I got 3. I got 3 of them right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the podcast. Apparently, this does count as a podcast. So, yeah. I'm going to see if I'll remember to share the quiz tomorrow, and maybe I'll just start sharing the Wednesday quiz on Thursdays if people just really like quizzes and things like that. I don't think it really makes sense to share it on Friday because Friday isn't really quizzy, and it honestly it isn't really on theme with the week. I might see if I can do better with that as time goes on. And yeah, that was a really good topic. So until next reach out.